Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session on building engaging presentations. My name's Alison. I'm a trainer for Google's free skills training program, Google Digital Garage. Just a bit about myself. I'm an experienced digital marketing specialist and trainer. I've got about 18 years experience in digital. So hopefully some of this background will come in useful today. I do lots of presenting and attend lots of presentations too. But I am not on my own today. I am joined by the fabulous Roshane, who will be there in the chat, engaging with you, answering any of your comments and questions. So do say hello if you haven't already. We do like to get everybody talking in the chat so that these sessions are as interactive as possible. Just before I get started, a few things I want to call out to help you today. So first of all, if you're having any trouble viewing the webinar right now, please just try refreshing your page. So switching it off and back on again, you know, that age-old tech trick often fixes things and sorts it out. If you want to join in the chat today, and you know I want you to, so please do, you will need a YouTube account, which you can set up very easily by clicking on the box on the right there. If you go away and do that right now, only take about a minute and you'll be good to go when the content gets started. There will be opportunities to answer. You can answer questions if you want, but if you want to ask questions, do pop them in the chat. I do have a break at the end of the session where I can address any more complex questions that Roshane might not be able to answer in the chat because she's only got about 200 characters available. And just to let you know, we're running this Google Digital Garage training as part of a broader offering of courses. So if you'd like to check out our schedule of up and coming webinars, please see the information on the description below, which will link you through to our website. Okay, I think that's the housekeeping done. So let's get started with building engaging presentations. So today we've got three core objectives today. We're going to look at crafting an engaging presentation, how to make the most of Google Slides. So we'll give you some practical tips and tools for using this tool. And then finally, we'll finish off with how to master delivery of presentations, some tips to capture and keep your audience's attention, and some bits that will hopefully give you a little bit more confidence when it comes to presenting. But let's get started with crafting a presentation to engage your audience. So first of all, why do we present? Unlike a document or a spreadsheet or a plan, a proposal, a presentation lets you tell a story. It lets you share your thoughts and engage with your audience on a more human level. We're able to show people more information and personality than they'll just get on a piece of paper or on a digital document, if you like. It really gives us an opportunity to motivate others, to tell a story, to get people feeling excited about what we're talking about, or to help them to buy into information that we're sharing with them. But unlike a document, which is a very controlled format because we can craft it, we can edit it, we can revise it as many times as possible before we give it to someone, a presentation can leave us feeling quite exposed and unnerved by what could happen in the room. There's lots of ways we can overcome these feelings, though, to deliver engaging presentations. Oh, excuse me, lots of presenting myself this week. There's lots of ways we can overcome these feelings so that we can deliver presentations that help to inform, persuade, and teach our audiences what we want them to know. But it can feel a bit daunting giving a presentation because we're not totally in control of what happens in that environment. So what makes a good presentation? First of all, you need to know who you're talking to. You need to understand your audience. Who are you speaking to? Why are they there? Why have they come to the presentation? What are they hoping to learn? What do they want to hear? What do they want to understand? So before you start presenting or building your presentation, you really want to answer the following questions about your audience. So first up, what's the demographic? How old are they? What professions are they in? Where are they located? Because this is going to help you pitch your presentation at the right level and to ensure that you include relevant, relatable examples and information. So really make sure you research your audience's demographics first up. Then think about why they're coming to your presentation. Have they been told they have to? It's mandatory that they attend your presentation, or have they voluntarily signed up? What's their motivations behind attending the presentation? What's their level of understanding? When you're presenting this topic, are the people you're talking to beginners, or are they experts? Somewhere in between. And think about time and headspace. If you're presenting to someone more senior, or you're pitching to a room full of people with limited attention, consider how long you want to make your presentation, and make sure that you've provided enough time for any questions as well. And think about how you might want to also build in some time to engage them and persuade them from the start. And then finally, consider accessibility. So think about your presentation, what it looks like, because while we might find a beautiful presentation template that looks aesthetically pleasing and got all sorts of colors going on and images, that might not actually be the most accessible format for your slides or your presentation. Think about how your visuals might affect people with different neurodiversities like dyslexia, color vision deficiency, etc., those types of accessibility issues. And we will give a few pointers on this in these slides. So first up, when you're presenting and when you're building a presentation, excuse me, you want to be clear and concise. So attention spans are short, particularly in this digital age. We are used to, we want to know it now. So make sure you get to the point in the shortest possible time. And keep in mind that you're going to have varying levels of understanding and expertise in your audience. So do try and avoid too much jargon. You want to make the content accessible to everyone, because even the experts in your audience are going to appreciate simple, easy to follow language. We don't want to have to really think and get a thesaurus out to understand what someone's saying to us. Make sure you're only including the relevant information. Of course, you want to set the scene, you want to create some context around your presentation, but too much of this extra stuff can end up drowning the key points you're trying to make. So try and keep it to the point. And slides, you'll see these slides here. We've got 3 bullet points on this slide. There's not loads of text. I'm talking to you, I'm talking around the slide, I'm giving you the information. You can see the key points there. But not everything is written on the slide. So just keep the text on the slide to a minimum. You want to be able to communicate your key points. You don't need to put everything onto a slide. Now, storytelling is really important when it comes to presenting, and there's several effective ways to tell stories in a presentation. Each has its own impact on the audience and attributes. When telling your story, you want to aim to evoke empathy, you want to build anticipation, or you want to spark their imagination. So we're going to explore a few versions of presentation story structures and discuss how they can use these different elements to evoke empathy and build anticipation. So first up, we've got the hero's journey. And this is a classic storytelling structure. It was popularized by Joseph Campbell. And the idea is that you follow a protagonist's journey through a series of challenges and transformations. Now, by incorporating this structure into your presentation, you can create anticipation and engagement because the audience will be following the hero's progress. And it can help build empathy by connecting the audience with the protagonist's struggle and eventual triumph. It's a classic story. We see it in films all the time and books, the hero's journey. Then we've got problem solution stories. So in this structure, you're going to begin by presenting a relatable problem or challenge that the audience might face. Then you're going to introduce a solution or idea that addresses the problem effectively. And by highlighting the pain points and then offering a solution, you're creating empathy with the audience's experiences and you're going to build anticipation for the solution that you're going to present to them. Personal anecdotes. So sharing your personal stories or anecdotes can be a really powerful way to connect with your audience emotionally. By recounting your own experiences, you're building empathy with the audience because they'll be able to relate to your journey. So this approach is really effective when the story is aligned with the topic of your presentation, allowing the audience to see the relevancy and authenticity of your message. It's a really good way of building that human connection. The emotional arc story refers to the progression of emotions through your presentation. So you start by capturing the audience's attention and curiosity, and then you build anticipation by introducing tension or conflict. And as you navigate the story, you can create empathy by highlighting the emotional impact on people. Then you conclude with a resolution that brings a sense of satisfaction or inspiration. And this leaves the audience with a lasting impression. And then we have the surprise twist. So adding an unexpected twist to your presentation story can generate excitement and anticipation and engagement. So if you deviate from the expected narrative or introduce a surprising fact or outcome, this can really engage your audience and grab their attention, keeping them on their toes, as it were. And it can make your presentation more memorable. So doing the unexpected, as it were. And it's key to remember that effective storytelling and presentations isn't just about the structure, but also about the delivery. So you want to make sure you use the different tones of voice, which we'll talk about a bit later, gestures and visuals to enhance the impact of your stories. And then you want to practice and refine your presentation to ensure that the storytelling, the narrative, aligns with your intended goals and the needs of your audience. But let's have a look at some examples of these types of stories to give you some context around them. So we've got first up the hero's journey. So this is where we're following the story of small business owner Shani. So once upon a time, there was a small business owner called Shani, and she faced numerous challenges in her entrepreneurial journey, from financial struggles to fierce competition in her market. But determined to succeed, she embarked on a journey to learn, adapt, and overcome these obstacles. And through hard work, perseverance, and a strong support network, Shani transformed her business into a thriving enterprise. Her journey inspired others, and then she became a mentor for aspiring entrepreneurs, sharing her knowledge and her experiences to empower them to embark on their own heroic journeys. So that was a story told from the hero's journey. Shani started, from a point of adversity and how she triumphed, and then went on in turn to inspire others. So think about what you noticed about that as a story, what that approach was like, and how you felt when you were hearing the story. Next, we have an example of a problem solution story from Alex. So Alex is a passionate small business owner, but he was facing declining sales. So Alex was frustrated. He researched effective marketing strategies and then discovered the power of social media. Recognizing the problem, he implemented a targeted social media campaign, engaging his customers and boosting brand awareness. And as a result, his business experienced a significant upswing in sales and in customer engagement. So by identifying the problem and implementing an innovative solution, Alex's small business regained its momentum and achieved sustainable growth. So think about the problem there. What was the problem Alex had? The problem he had was having declining sales. And the solution he discovered was a targeted social media campaign. He discovered the power of social media and then demonstrated in this story how that helped to transform his business. And then we've got an example of relating to the speaker, so relating to the person. This is these human personal anecdotes. So say it's me, and in the early days of my small business, I found myself struggling to balance work and family life. Long hours, really stressful experience were taking a toll on my well-being. So one day, I had an amazing idea during my holiday. As I watched my children play and was laughing along with my partner, I realized the importance of finding harmony between work and personal life. So with a renewed determination, I implemented a flexible schedule. I prioritized my own self-care, made sure I gave myself breaks, made sure I worked a 4-day week, and I delegated tasks. This shift in my own behaviors improved my relationships, in my personal relationships, and enhanced my business productivity and success. So that's an idea that, I'm sharing my own experiences of people, then you're actually coming right from the heart. That's quite a vulnerable approach to be taking to storytelling, but it can be very effective in getting your audience to relate to you. So think about if you can build any personal anecdotes that are authentic, that can relate with your audience. So doing proper research, going to the point of building the presentation, doing this proper research can make or break your presentation, because good research will give credibility to your content and will help you to tell a convincing story, building that audience trust and buy-in. And it's really important that we take the opportunity in a presentation to build trust and connection with our audience. So make sure you always use credible sources for any stats or data you build into your presentation. And there are a few things you can look for to determine if a source is credible. So first of all, you're finding some stats, you're finding some data. That looks great. I want to put it in my presentation. Make sure you check these elements first. So first of all, is the author an expert on the topic? Do they have any credentials or experience that would make them an authority? Accuracy. Is the information accurate? Can you find any other sources that corroborate the information? Bias. Is the source biased? Does it have a particular agenda? Does the source have a very definite point of view they're trying to express? Objectivity. Is the source objective? Does it present all sides of the issue fairly? And currency means, is the information up to date? Has it been recently updated? It's always really important when you're finding this information to include in your presentation that you cross-check it with other sources and that you're critical of it. Don't just take it as a given. Don't just say, oh yeah, I found that on Wikipedia, bung that in there, that'll be fine. Make sure you're looking at it critically. Make sure you're backing it up. So well-known journalistic publications are a good choice. Watch out for pieces, though, that are opinion pieces or have a clear agenda, because they might be too subjective. Websites like Statista are reliable, they're credible, but avoid using blogs, Wikipedia as a source, because they can be written by anyone and they don't go through that rigorous research process and fact checking. Also, always include your references where applicable. This helps give you credibility, helps the audience to buy into what you're saying. And if you include a stat, someone might say, oh, well, where's that stat from? And you want to be able to share, oh, right, yeah, we got this from Statista, 2023 report. Also, try when you can to get information that's localized or relevant to your audience. So finding e-commerce numbers in India, for example, isn't going to be relatable to audiences in the UK. Similarly, if you're talking about traffic patterns, London's going to be different to New York. So be as relatable as possible to help bring the content to life. And we're going to talk about visuals. Really important that you have visuals, because they can help bring your presentation to life. So using images, infographics and icons can help keep attention throughout. You can see here on the left our store locations. We have stores all over the world, or all around the world. We can see we've got two visuals there. It's a really nice way to present that information, rather than the one on the right, which is just bullet points. It gives it's more engaging. It looks nicer. It's not an overwhelm of text. What you don't really want is your audience to be kind of having to read the slides while you're talking. You want to have something that's going to complement what you're saying, to support your presentation that you're speaking, which the version on the left does far better than the one on the right. We recommend you use no more than 3 primary colours, because using too many colours can be overstimulating and can detract from the content. Make sure you maintain a consistent look and feel throughout the presentation, and keep your infographics clear and concise if you use them. So don't get carried away by using too many unnecessary elements. Try and keep it really simple. Similarly, keep your font simple. So when it comes to creating a visually appealing engaging presentation, the use of fonts is really important because they can really impact the overall readability and appeal of your slides. So we've got some key considerations to keep in mind when you're using fonts. So first of all, readability. It's essential that fonts are clear and easy to read, even from a distance, because you might be in a huge room, someone right at the back. You want to make sure that they can see the slides and read the slides. So sans serif fonts like Arial, Calibri, Helvetica, they're popular choices for presentations because they've got a clean, legible appearance. And these fonts are widely available. And then establishing a hierarchy within your text is another important aspect of font usage, because by using variations in font size and weight and style, you can create a visual hierarchy that gets the audience's attention. So you can see here on the left, there's a difference, isn't there? You've got some bold fonts, slightly different fonts, but it's really standing out why you should invest. That's the key information that you're seeing. And then underneath, you've got the website address, and we can see the title Investor Pitch at the top. But the key message there is why you should invest. Whereas on the right, I mean, it's a bit all over the place, let's be honest, isn't it? We've got different fonts going on. The why you should invest isn't in the same consistent font. It looks a bit messy. So it can be really tempting to experiment with a wide range of fonts, but we generally recommend to limit the number that you use within a presentation, because too many, as you can see on the right, can create a really chaotic appearance. So 2 or 3 fonts that complement each other and used consistently throughout your presentation is a good approach. And then use the bold, the italics, the underline strategically to add emphasis and to highlight the key points. But use these styles sparingly and purposefully to avoid overwhelm. You don't want to use that approach on the left all the way through your presentation. So reserve that technique for important information or key takeaways that you want to draw attention to. And just remember that some fonts can be difficult, for instance, for people with dyslexia to read. Loopy or cursive fonts can present challenges. So keep accessibility in mind when you're picking your fonts. Similarly, I mentioned this briefly before, colour is really important. So limit your colour palette to no more than 3 main colours and try and make them complementary. So really what you're looking for is a highlight colour, a secondary highlight and a neutral colour. And these colours should also contrast with one another so that you can play with lights and darks, and you can use these to draw attention to key information. So by creating this consistency across your slide deck, your audience will come to understand the meaning and be able to pick out important information quickly. So you can see here in the second image that changing the colours doesn't hold any meaning. They just creates confusion. You're just looking at going, why is that one in red? That red one stands out. It's not, it's just creating confusion. It's inviting questions. It's giving you unnecessary information. Whereas here we can consistently see that the column on the right, the left is blue, on the right is grey, consistently through monthly income. It's more meaningful. This is probably a time period versus another time period, something like that. Whereas over here, we don't really know what that's all about. Another interesting way to use hierarchy is changing the size of elements. Changing the size of elements can change the meaning. So if you look at these 2 images, if you look at the one on the right, can you tell out of those 3, just looking at this image, which is the most popular coffee? Probably not. However, in this image, the Americano is very, I mean, it's big, and it's right up there. It's on the podium. It's big. It's basically showing us which is the most popular, followed by the cappuccino, followed by the mocha. So using hierarchy in your images and your fonts can help portray meaning. But when it comes to fonts, it's a good idea to generally follow the rule that headings are the largest, then subheadings, then body text. When it comes to colours, using your brightest colours to draw attention to the most important elements. And we mentioned visuals before, but visuals are a really effective way to simplify ideas to aid your audience's comprehension of your topic. So often when you're presenting, you might have to present information that's quite complex, and communicating that in a simple way can be challenging. So using visual representations of the information can improve understanding and retention. So here, again, it's the idea that this list of bullets are international store locations, and it's fine. It gives the information, but if you just had it on its own, it's not going to really engage the audience. So actually being complemented by a map with pins showing where they are gives the audience two options to view this information. We've got some general rules of thumb when choosing your visuals. Make sure when you do choose visuals that you're not just putting them there for the sake of it, but that they're useful for your audience. So bar charts are a really good way of helping people to use data to make comparison. People do have a harder time comparing area or volume. So pie charts and bubble charts are potentially problematic. So bar charts are a really good way visually demonstrate on a presentation. Maps like this one are ideal if you have location-based information. If you've got to represent time scales or time, think about timelines or horizontal line graphs or flow charts. Then you can think about diagrams like mind maps and Venn diagrams for explaining themes. And then photos of human faces are great for eliciting emotions. And they can also be good for showing change over time or referencing specific people. You don't want people to be going, what's that? I don't really understand that photo. You want them to go, yeah, I get it. So visuals can really help you bring to life maybe otherwise boring information. And in this instance, we're really driving home the idea that this is an international company. And consider visual accessibility. We want to make sure our presentation, the visuals, are accessible to everyone in the room. So one way to consider accessibility and inclusivity is the use of your colours. So colour vision deficiency is the best way to describe someone who has difficulty seeing colour. And while each person might experience this differently, there's a few things you can do to help ensure everyone can understand your graphics. So if you look at the first example on the screen, you can see it's a title that's easy to read. Using strong colour contrast and bold fonts is a good way to ensure your text is legible. Black and white provide maximum contrast, but it's not always interesting to look at, so you can play around with colour. If you have a dark background, text should be light and vice versa. Avoid colour combinations like green and red or blue and yellow, because these can be difficult for someone with colour vision deficiency to distinguish. In the second example, we're imagining that we're trying to illustrate a message that has been sent, delivered, or read. So looking at these two here, which one do you think, and you can share it in the chat, but which one, the top or the bottom, is more accessible to someone? If you think the first one, then you'd be correct, because the design there has used contrasting colours as well as a slightly different design, so that even someone who struggles to differentiate colours can catch the meaning. Whereas this is, if you just looked at those visuals, it's a bit difficult to tell the difference between them. There's only slight differences in colour. Now, when it comes to font size, remember to use big fonts where possible, because not only do people have varying eyesight strengths, but the people in the back might have trouble seeing small fonts if you're presenting in person, that is. So try and avoid using a font size smaller than 14 points. If you find you have too much text on one slide, consider breaking up onto multiple slides and increasing the font size, because less information per slide will help with understanding and retention. Are you presenting to a group and you want to make sure they can clearly see what you're saying? You want to make sure you're meeting accessibility standards with your presentation. If you're presenting in a non-native language or unable to speak loudly and want to make sure your presentation is clear, let slides close caption for you in real time. So there is the option to add closed captions to your slides, and you can do this on Google Slides, or by clicking the CC button at the bottom of your presentation. And as long as your microphone is enabled, closed captions will automatically appear at the bottom of your presentation as you speak. So now, it's your turn to think about building your presentation. So we're going to have a look at how to build presentations on Google Slides, which is what we're using today. So Google Slides is a presentation editor in Google Workspace, and it's free of charge to access. And because the presentations are in the cloud and they're associated with your Google account, the users and owners of Google Slides can access them on any device, which is great because you can have a look at it on your phone, on your laptop, come back to your desktop and pick up where you left off. It also allows multiple presenters, so you can present with a team member anywhere in the world. Also allows real-time collaboration, so you can be working on a presentation at the same time as somebody else on the same document and make changes in real time. And you've got different options for sharing the presentations. What's really good about that, as well as if you are working collaboratively on a presentation using Google Slides, a revision history is kept, which allows editors to access any version of the presentation in the past and keep log of who made what changes. And you can convert Google Slides into different formats, such as PowerPoint or a PDF. So you can also edit PowerPoint presentations in Google Slides as well. So it's a really great flexible tool, and I use it all of the time. Even outside of this, I'm a big fan of Google Slides. So when you're creating a presentation using Google Slides, you can choose your theme, and you can customize how your presentation looks via these themes. So you can choose from a pre-designed theme, which will give all your slides the same background and text styles for a really good consistent look and feel. The theme is applied to all slides and includes different slide types. So you've got title slides, section breaks, content slides, which will have headings and different types of content. And the formatting for these is all controlled by the theme. So if you want to just change the font throughout the whole presentation, you just go and edit the theme, change one of the fonts, and it will be applied to the whole presentation. And this will give you full flexibility over how your presentation looks, because you can customize your themes. You can add your brand colors, change any elements on a page that aren't related to what you want. And you can also create your own standardized theme for your own business. So you can create a theme using your own fonts, your own colors, your own layouts. And this can help your employees and team members make sure you've got that consistent brand look and feel across any presentations they create for your business. So it's a really good idea to go and have a look at the themes available, explore what might work for you, some that you might be able to customize for your own business, or look at creating your own theme from scratch. So Google Slides is more than just a presentation tool. It's a canvas that will enable you to get creative, and it's got features that can encourage engagement. So there's lots of different features that can help elevate your presentation and make it more exciting. You can use extensions. So this feature is where you can find lots of different add-ons, like icons from Flaticon, fonts from Extensis Fonts. You can get charts pulled over from Google Sheets or translations from Translate My Slide. You can add music, you can add polls, lots of extensions to explore. You can add polls to your slides. So to help keep your audience focused and allow them to participate, you can add tools such as Slido or Mentimeter, which will integrate into slides and allow you to run live quizzes, polls, Q&As, and more. And you can even make things competitive in your group, as we've got here with that trophy, by having a leaderboard. So you can run a quiz, have a leaderboard. It really helps getting people engaged. Now you can access all extensions from the extension button in your toolbar. And if you're sort of thinking, I don't really know what I want, then you can have a look. Use the Explore feature under Tools to search the web and images to get some inspiration. So these are just a few features that are available to help your presentation sparkle. There's lots of other different tools and features for you to explore as well. Oh, I'm just... I was behind myself there. So here we go. Here's the Explore feature over here, which will enable you to search the web. Title is really important. So making the title of your presentation impactful is essential to grab attention. It's going to set the tone for the whole presentation. So you really want people to go, that sounds great. That presentation, I'm going to that. I need to be there. So we've got some tips to make your presentation title impactful. Use strong, active language. So choose words that evoke curiosity, intrigue, or emotion. Strong and provocative language can immediately capture people's attention, generate interest. So an example might be, instead of a generic title like effective time management, you could use a more impactful title such as Mastering the Clock, Unleashing the Power of Time Management. So it's more exciting just by that language change. Make your title concise, make it memorable, keep it to the point. If they're too long, really long, convoluted titles might confuse or lose the interest of your audience. So aim for a title that's easy to remember and understand. You could consider using catchy phrases, alliteration, wordplay to make it more memorable. So it maybe in a presentation on creativity and problem solving could be something like Think Outside the Box, The Art of Innovation. These kind of more engaging titles. You want your title to highlight the benefit or the outcome. You want to show your audience the value they're going to get from attending your presentation. And you want to highlight the benefit they can expect by framing the title around it. So in this example, we've got create presentations that wow rather than make good presentations. It's the same thing, but the first version on the left is more powerful. It's more attention grabbing. Now, I mentioned before about minimizing how much text you put on a slide. So you can see over here, if you had that slide right now, if I had that slide up, you'd be like, reading it all, what's going on there? You would be having to tune out from what I was saying. Whereas this version here with 3 bullet points is going to complement what the presenter's saying. So you want people to focus on your voice and what you're saying rather than concentrating on the screen, because you're going to lose them. You're going to lose people if they're suddenly like, right, I'm tuning out of the presenter now and I'm trying to read the slide on the screen. People can't listen and read at the same time. Even if you think you can, you can't. You can't read a book and be listening to what the news is saying. So if you want your audience to read something, stop talking and give them some time. Then blank out the slide and start talking again. So it doesn't mean that you can't get people to read, but you have to pause to allow them to. Just like I am as I have my cup of tea. Also, consider that not all people find reading easy. Lots of different reasons for that. So if your goal is going to be understood, then you should make it as easy as possible for everyone. Often asked, how many slides? How many slides should we have? Well, there's no magic number because it depends on the content you're delivering. But rule of thumb is to not have more slides than presentation minutes. So we've got a 60-minute presentation today. I think I've got 42 slides. So I wouldn't want more than 60 slides. Then you're going to be rushing very, very fast through it. You want people to focus on the key points rather than reading lots of text. So use bullet points to reinforce those key points, not a script. Think about the font, think about the size of your text. Can it be read at the back of the room? Are the characters clear? Remember, a plain font is much easier to read than a fancy curly one. Think about contrast. Dark font on a light background is the easiest. And be conscious of people who might have colour vision deficiency. And keep it interesting by varying the pace of your slides. So sometimes you'll move quickly through a series of impactful points. Other times you're going to dwell on a story to explore a really important concept. So you can vary the pace of how you deliver your slides to keep your audience engaged. Running an online presentation is slightly different to if we were in a room right now and I was stood in front of you. So when you're delivering a remote session, it's really important to think about your audience because you can't see their body language or make eye contact to see how they're getting on. I have no idea if you're sitting yawning or if you're smiling. I can't see you. You can see me, but I can't see you. So you have to consider how you can engage your audience without actually being able to see them and judge their reactions. If you're going to build slides, for a remote presentation, you need to choose a tool that can support screen sharing. Think about the size of your audience. So for a one-to-one session, just one person, you can get on a video call. You can use your phone. You can use Google Meets or Zoom or Skype. For a group meeting, you need to think about whether your video is enabled. You'll need to make sure everyone mutes their microphone when they're not talking. Or for a larger session like this one, which is streamed, we have to run it a bit more like a television broadcast with a presenter and viewers. But there's the added benefit we've got today with the chat with Roshane, which allows you to get involved if you want to. So think about screen sharing. Think about video for participants. Are you going to be able to see them? Are you on a Zoom where you can see everyone? Or is it like today when you can't? Will you need a moderator? So today, Roshane's our moderator, helping and assisting with answering questions and comments in the chat. Think about as well, if you're live streaming like we are today, if there's a delay between when your stream goes live on the internet and when you stream it, because even a small 30-second delay can cause awkward silences. So you've just got to think about all of these things before you start going a remote presentation. It's slightly different to actually standing up in front of people. Think about the ease of use. So what tech are you using? How easy is it to set up? How easy is it for people to join? What's the cost? Do you need to invest in any tech or resources for your presentation? Maybe you need better lighting, maybe you need to pay for a Zoom subscription, or maybe you want to include a presentation tool like Slido. Google Slides isn't the only option for creating presentations. These are some other examples of products you can use. And each of these tools has templates that you can edit. You can adjust the images, the fonts, and the graphics. So Prezi, Canva, Visme, they're just 3 examples, but there's so many options out there at varying costs. So do a bit of research and look into which is best for you. So the final part of our presentation on presentations is about delivering engaging presentations. So this is actually about your actual delivery. First up, right back at the start, 45 odd minutes ago, I talked about thinking about your audience. That's really key. Who are you talking to? And how many people are you presenting to? So we need to think about the size of our audience, not just who they are. Think about the space you're presenting in. And remember, because it is a bit scary if it's not something you're used to doing very often. If you've got a lot of people, just remember that crowds are just individuals, just individuals, just a few of them. Yeah. So if what you're saying makes sense to one individual, it's likely it will make sense to many. Now, this is different to when you're presenting online, because even though the numbers can be bigger, you can treat it as if you're just delivering to one person and talk to them directly. So I'm talking to you like you're just one person on the other side of the screen. It can really help as well to include interactive elements where possible. So today we've got the chat functionality, but you can also ask your audience for feedback using tools like Slido, which I mentioned earlier, to engage with your audience. So what you need to do is adapt your presentation and your presentation style to your audience, particularly the size of audience. So no matter how small or large, there's different ways you can interact with your audience and keep them interested. So when you've got large groups of people, it could be difficult. You don't want to get everyone talking. If you've got hundreds of people in front of you, that would get a bit messy and noisy and chaotic. So you might want to do something like ask for a quick show of hands. So how many people in the room watched we're going to watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, or stand up if you like Taylor Swift. That type of interaction where you've got that large group interaction. If you've got medium groups, you could ask individuals questions directly, like where are you from? Have you used Google products before? What do you think? So you can directly ask individuals. Alternatively, you could split up your group into half or in pairs, or set them tasks and ask them to come back to you. If you've got one-to-one groups, then remember it's a conversation, essentially. This is you and one individual. It's more of a conversation. If you're online, can you enable the chat facility? So you're going to really need a moderator like we have today, like Roshane is, because it would be very difficult for me right now to be doing this and checking the chat and making sure you're on top of everything, the tech and everything going on. So it's more of a team effort when you're presenting online. Make sure you ask your audience questions, because there's nothing worse than just a one-sided conversation. So when you're asking your audiences questions, you want you to get to know them. It makes the session more memorable for them, and it will also help you present the content on what they actually want to know. And that's as well why we ask for, we love interaction in the chat. We ask for questions, just so that we're getting to hear from the audience as much as you're hearing from us. And if you have a question and you think, someone's asked me a difficult question, I don't know the answer to that question, don't panic. And never make up the answer either. Never make up the answer. You can set up a car park so you can keep track of questions that you can't answer. So say, okay, I don't have the answer for that right now, to be honest, but I'm going to follow that up after the session. I'm going to find that out for you. And then make sure you do follow up as promised, but never make up an answer. But the key thing is, don't panic if someone asks you a question you don't know the answer to, because we don't know the answers to everything. And that's okay, we're human. The key thing is showing how you're going to handle it and how you're going to help them. Listening. So this is really important. A good way to show that you're listening is to repeat back what's been said so they know you were listening. And it will also help it cement it in your mind as well, what they've said. So acknowledgement is a great way to increase the confidence of the groups, because you're going to go, great question, or love that question, or I understand your point. And it sends a message that you've got a friendly, welcoming environment and you're encouraging interaction and collaboration. You want to avoid content overload. So tailor the content to the people in the room. So if you've got a room full of plumbers, use plumbing businesses as an example. Make your content relevant to your audience, and then they're going to engage more with what you're saying. Focus. So have 3 key points prepared for each slide, and make sure you can recite these in less than a minute when you're looking at the slide. That way you don't have to rely on reading the slides. You don't want to have a presentation where all you're doing is reading the slide, because your audience can do that. They can read the slide if you've got some clear points. Reading out the slide to people isn't a presentation. You want to be able to adapt to timing as well. So you might find that you've rushed through and you've gone faster than you'd hoped, or you might have gone slower than you hoped. You want to have slides created with these 3 key points so you can talk around them and slow or quicken the pace depending on what you need to do. As long as you can deliver your key points, it doesn't really matter what else you say, and generally the less you say the better. When you first show a slide, pause. This is going to give you time to recall your key points for the slide, so you can look at it, pause. It's also going to give your audience time to look at the slide. They're going to digest what's there and then refocus on you. This might feel unnatural to you, but to the audience, you'll look composed and confident. We actually get a bit nervous about pauses, about silence, feel like we need to fill the gap, but that's not always necessary. That pause can really help you to appear confident, even if inside you're terrified. It's the same thing at job interviews as well. If you get asked a question and you can pause. Don't underestimate how powerful your voice is. So your voice is an incredibly powerful tool. So think about how you can adapt it depending on the situation that you're in. You can adjust, if you can talk, you can adjust your voice to convey meaning. So what we're talking about here is volume. You need to tailor your voice, or how loud your voice is, to the group size. So you want to make sure everyone can hear you, and you want to use it to get attention. Now, that's not just about talking really loudly so that everyone can hear you. You might want to speak really quietly, mid-sentence. If you speak quietly mid-sentence, people have to listen, don't they? They have to focus on what you're saying. So you can use the volume and a variation in volume of your voice to grab attention, to get people to focus. The style of your voice, adapt to suit your audience and the subject. So this is going to change depending on the size of your audience or the experience level of your group. Your tone of voice. You want to vary your tone of voice to make the presentation interesting. This means, if you speak in monotone, then this is not going to be interesting for the audience. If I spoke like that all the way through this presentation, you might get a bit bored. So think about how you can use your tone to communicate meaning. An inverted tone at the end of a sentence indicates a question. And if you do this all the time, that can get confusing. So a good way to do this, or to understand what you sound like and how you're using your voice, and awkward though it may feel for some of you, is to record yourself and listen back. And then your pace. So you want to maintain a steady speed, and remember to pause, breathe, don't rush through the content. Delivering your presentation in a calm, well-paced way can help make you it can help make you feel confident, but it can help you appear confident and credible, even if you're finding a presentation terrifying. Body language is also really important, especially during presentations, because all eyes are on you. You can all see me right now. You can see my body language. If I was presenting like this, what are you feeling if I was presenting like this? And like, it makes me look like I'm nervous, doesn't it? It makes me look like a negative emotion. Okay, so strong body language is a really powerful tool and essential for building credibility. When you stand tall with an open, confident stance, that portrays a sense of authority and command over the subject matter. And sitting down, I'm sitting down, I'm presenting remotely, but sitting down, even if you're in person, can help make you seem more approachable and relaxed, and it might make you feel more comfortable. You also want to make sure you're using appropriate hand gestures and maintaining eye contact with your audience, because this will help you demonstrate confidence and competence. This non-verbal communication can establish trust and credibility with listeners. Watch politicians when they are talking, with the gestures they use, the body language they use. It's very deliberate. They're a good example to watch in terms of persuasive body language, confident body language. This is also a powerful tool for emotional expression. So your facial expressions, your postures, and your gestures can convey enthusiasm, passion, or conviction. So using animated, expressive body language, you can effectively communicate your emotions and help create a connection with your audience. So using gestures to emphasize key points or displaying a genuine smile can help convey your enthusiasm and engage the listeners on an emotional level. I can't stress enough how much body language facilitates connection with your audience, because positive body language, such as leaning slightly forward, keeping an open posture, I have to act these things out when I'm saying them, or facing the audience, you're creating an inviting and inclusive environment. And it's also encouraging the audience to participate, to feel more comfortable, and to interact. It's really important for connections. Using appropriate gestures to involve the audience, such as inviting questions or encouraging applause, you can foster this sense of involvement. So sometimes people think about these poses, a powerful pose, call these power poses, some of them, power pose, hands on the hips. These can help make you feel confident, strong. So think about having a confident, open trunk and strong, comfortable arms. these sorts of poses, even if you're not doing them during the presentation, but beforehand, they can help make you feel more confident before you start your presentation and ready to take on the world. Be mindful of your stance. Adopt a powerful pose. Doesn't have to be a power pose, but you do want to adopt a strong, confident pose. You want to present with energy, enthusiasm, and excitement. Energy, enthusiasm, excitement, the 3 E's. Think about how you might move. If you're going to stand in one spot, are you going to just move your hands? Are you going to move around the stage? Are you going to gesture? If you're not gesturing, keep your hands at your side. I'm terrible for talking with my hands. I have to almost sit on them the time I use them too much. So think about that as well. Be conscious of how much you're doing that. And make sure you use eye contact to connect. You might want to practice with a script. So that might help, but don't just read off a script when you are presenting. You can add some speaker notes to the slides on your presentation. If you are going to write a script for yourself, you can maybe use the use of AI to help you. A good idea is to transcribe a practice version that you've recorded or delivered, and then use this as a basis to edit. So Otter and Trint offer tools to let you do this. And Bard or ChatGPT could help you get started with some of your slide notes. But you've got to edit it to ensure it's accurate and reflect what you're trying to say in your authentic voice. But it can help you get started if you've just got a blank page. So we wouldn't say ever to just read a script. So this is an example here of the kind of notes that we have under our slides. I'm not just going to read those verbatim, but I have got them there to support what I'm saying to you guys now. And then make sure you practice. So I would say if you've got a presentation to build and deliver after this session, set aside some time when you've created it to record yourself presenting. Just be your phone, that's fine, but record it. Okay, that's the easy bit. Then the hard bit is to review it. Everybody hates doing this. I can't bear to watch myself back, but it's really important because it's going to help you understand how clear you are. It's going to help you understand how well you can be understood. Then listen, do you say too much? Are there any words you overuse? Do you talk too much with your hands like I do? That's something I really notice. When you're aware of it, you can do something to rectify it, to improve it. And you can watch it back without the sound on to see what your body language is like. All great presenters plan what they're going to do during their presentation because it helps them look professional, confident, and credible. And if something goes wrong, someone interrupts them, or you forget what's coming next, they've practiced. You can go, okay, it's okay, I know how to do it. You're not going to panic because the unexpected can happen. The tech might not work. Someone in the audience might, I don't know, do something crazy and distract you. Things will happen. We want to feel confident, prepared, so it doesn't throw us. Which brings me to the end of today's presentation. Jeannie, tips for nervous people when giving a face-to-face presentation. Okay, very quickly, because we're almost out of time, Jeannie. 3-4 years ago, absolutely terrified. If you told me I was doing this 4 years ago, I'd have laughed because I was so nervous. And then I started working for Google Digital Garage and doing presentations in person. And I had to really take myself out of my comfort zone, breathing and practicing and focusing on one individual in an audience particularly as well. If you can see a friendly face in the crowd, if someone who gives you a smile, don't stare at them and freak them out. But if you can just keep looking over to them for that kind of reassurance, it can really help. Deep breaths. And the only thing I can say that's got me doing this now without worrying at all is practice and doing it again and again and again. And it gets easier. And when you've done it and overcome your fears, it's an amazing feeling. So good luck. You will be fine. practice, record yourself. But I am out of time, so thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you found that useful. If you're interested in more training, you can continue learning by going to the Google Digital Garage website, which is available 24/7. If you have any feedback, please do use the QR code. We'd love to hear your feedback. We do appreciate it very much. But thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope we can welcome you again to another Google Digital Garage webinar soon. Take care, everyone.